Welcome everyone to another fabulous episode of In the Library of Graphic Literature, and today we have Wallace's top blind picks of the library, where he just randomly went around and got something to share with you all. So, welcome Wallace Ryan!
Thank you. So similar to the one where the other week you walked around and picked them, I actually stood up. I figured I'd pick them ahead of time so we'd have a bit more time to chat. But I just picked certain sections and I just closed my eyes and I went like that, and then I looked at which ones were at the top of my fingers and I picked between one or two.
Yes,
so
we understand how it works.
So this was sort of a cool, and some of these actually are some of my favorites. Some of these are actually very, very, how would you say, underrated.
So what do you got for us?
Highly underrated. Okay, we're going to start out with, what is it, All-Star Comics, Only Legends Live Forever. Woo! Now this I actually bought as a kid. I bought this series mainly because here we go, as a matter of fact. And I can remember as a kid buying this. We were on vacation. I think I was in Prince Edward Island at the time. But and it looked pretty cool, this All-Star, but it was drawn by Mike Grell, who at the time was my favorite artist, so I figured I'd buy it. But then inside I found out it was drawn by Wally Wood and I think Rick Estrada. And but with Wally Wood and his heavy inks, he makes it look like Wally Wood. And it was also and I loved the comic, and I kept on buying it. And then one of my favorites, Keith Giffen, the late Keith Giffen, who just died recently, he came on board, and he was doing some cool stuff with Wally Wood, and then I can't remember if Joe Stanton, he came along and he was doing it for a while. Stanton, one of my favorite artists. So overall, I think a very great book for just a pick right off the shelf.
And here we have Marvel Masterworks, the Inhumans, Volume 2.
Now this one I picked. I actually did a 4-pick out of the Masterworks section. This was one of the ones that came out of that, and this was the Inhumans. They were one of my favorites growing up. They were like sort of cousins of the Fantastic Four, I guess. They first appeared in Fantastic Four.
Ah, and here we have a bookmark.
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, I think this was because I was looking up something. Oh yeah. This is the first. I think the first issue was done, or no, it was the first issue was done by Perez. The late great George Perez, who only died actually last year, I think it was, and Doug Munch. So it was. I mean, I liked this series at the time because this character here, Black Bolt, I always thought he was the coolest. He had the coolest costume of any superhero, right? And so I bought all these, but then later on in the run was one of my other favorite artists, Gil Kane, took over it for a while, and I went insane for Gil Kane. Oh, there he is. Went insane for the Kane.
Talk towards
the camera. Let's show it towards the camera. Okay. And this was one of my favorite things. There, inside this large beetle. That's trapped on this sand world, and it's going around just cleaning up after itself constantly. It's a really weird storyline, but kind of cool. Oh yeah, and George Perez, one of my favorites. This I had all these when I was a kid. All these comics.
Resemblance is uncanny.
What's that?
You showed me. Oh, you're like, oh, this is so and so.
Oh. Yes, kind of looks like me in a way, doesn't it?
George Perez.
George Perez. And it's funny, George, even as a kid when I was reading it, was just like this George Perez guy's really cool. I had no idea that it just sounded like a cool name. I didn't think of him as being Hispanic or anything like that. He was a great artist, one of my favorites. Now, this is Omega, the Unknown, blah, blah, blah. This was one of my favorite creations by Steve Gerber, the same man who created or co-created Howard the Duck and many other cool things. The Fool Killer, but this one it's a really strange, weird one. This kid, he's somehow linked to this mysterious being, and but it's a great story. Turns out he's an orphan and the parents he was living with all his life were actually just robots. And then somehow he's linked to this mysterious being, Omega, the unknown. Dun, 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 dun. And they came back, they finished it off, I think, a couple of years later. But, I'll give it this quick flick. The art is by this guy, Jim Mooney, who, although he wasn't a favorite of mine at the time, he later did become one of my favorites. I mean, he was good enough artist. And he was famous for, well, he'd done some Spider-Man, but he'd also done some Supergirl way back when. Oh, what's this? Oh, found a little note thingy. Oh, that's probably where I was. There was my my bookmark. But anyway, a series worth reading. Very strange, very unusual. But Omega the Unknown. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Unknown since 1976. Okay.
And here we have Legion of Superheroes, The Great Darkness Saga.
Once again,
Dark Side?
Yep. And this of course has, once again, Keith Giffen from the other book is in on this. And when I was reading this as a 20-year-old adult, I was reading the series, and it was just like, as soon as there was, I had guessed that it was probably Darkseid was the villain involved here. But then when it comes up, there's a scene where there's a ping, ping, ping sound starts to make, which is the mother box. I don't know where I got it clear now. You know that pingy thing I have?
Yes.
Anyway, there's a scene in here, it starts to bing, 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 and of course all of us DC fans are like, oh, it's the fourth world, blah, blah, it got to be Darkseid. Now, I love this drawing of him too. This guy could really do Darkseid well. I mean, he looks like a side of a cliff there, right? I mean, look at that, come on. But the whole series, it's a classic Legion series. Now, of course, I've kind of given away the ending that the villain is Darkseid and all that, but I guess most people in the comic book world know that by now. But one of the classics anyway. I think they reprinted this one recently too, actually. Okay. Up next. Da-da-da-da.
The best of Simon and Kirby's Mainline comics.
Da-da-da-da-da. This is a great collection from, actually two more, as these guys usually do magazines and all that. But they do a couple of these collections. But the best thing about this is, besides it, Mainline Comics was the company that Simon and Kirby were running. And it had a bunch of different titles in it. But this one actually contains the complete bullseye. So it has some sample stories from Foxhole, Police Trap, and In Love. But it has the complete bullseye, which was the main reason I bought this. When I seen it, it had the complete of one in it. Had to have it, right? Now, he could draw horses, Kirby could, right? As a matter of fact, if I was ever to do a Western comic, I'd dig out this and I'd use his horses for reference, because they're fabulously drawn. Oh, here we go. But the later ones, and I'm not sure how far I got along in this one, but absolutely beautiful artwork. Oh yeah, and they have some cool. Oh, there we go. There's some cool. That's a classic one there. Some cool covers. Oh, I don't know if I. Well, here, yeah, slide that back in there. So anyway, yes, Mainline Comics, jazz hands, comic jazz. Okay, next up, shall you reveal it?
Marvel Masterworks, Deathlok, Volume 1.
And
The
there's only
Demolisher.
yeah. Now this, when I was growing up, I was mainly a DC kind of guy, but in the early '70s, I started to check out some Marvel comics just out of pure curiosity. And this was 1974, so I would have been 13 at the time. And I came across this very comic, the first issue of this series on the stands, and it just looked so different and bizarre, and I was just like, well, okay, this is not the Marvel that I was used to, and it's a new character, so I'll try starting at step number 1. And this was a great series, one of my favorite, by Rich Buckler, who and he did a great series. And my favorite in these were the ones that were inked by Klaus Janson. Some of the inkers I wasn't a big fan on, but some of them I was. Oh, here we go. Where is it? Dunno. This guy who inked this became a lot better of it. So his stuff really shone when Jensen inked him. Oh yeah, look. I mean, look at that page. That was in He Mean. Fierce Mean Fighting Machine. Now it's funny, at the time he was kind of like a rip-off of the $60 Million Man on the TV series. Because same thing, he has two mechanical legs, one mechanical arm, and a mechanical eye, just like the $6 Million Man. But I guess they couldn't get the rights to him, so they just said, okay, just write us off a clone, and it was actually really good.
So if I stand over here, will that help you with your eye contact abilities?
Oh yes. I've been working on that, as a matter of fact, recently. But come. Okay. Okay, now this here. This is one of the few omnibuses in this pile. It's the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu Volume 2. Now this had some great art from. Hang on a second. Flipped right to the front. This one artist called Rudy Nebrez, who's one of my favorite artists. George Perez appears in this, and Marshall Rogers. Oh, you're getting close, are you? So it was and have a look at Rudy Nebrez's artwork. I mean, he was, and of course these are all black. It's all black and white issues. But great art. This was the thing. There was great art in all these kung fu comics. Oh, here's the White Tiger, who now appears in the new Daredevil Born Again series. So he actually had his origin in this series. And it was basically these three brothers who were the sons of the Tiger, but they quit, and this guy got all their medallions, and he became the White Tiger. So, some great, like I say, this is just filled with absolutely fabulous artwork, even though I'm ending up on the, I can still remember having these to this day. Oh, and a Mike Nasser, I do believe, yeah. Bing, 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 bing. See, I tell you. And Neil Adams actually did that. There, the White Tiger. So anyway, great series. Absolutely amazing comics. And it ends off with a bang. The Marshall Rogers does the last few stories. Oh, they're there. Good old Marshall Rogers. This guy could draw. And then there's some other ones. Or Paul Gullisy. Oh, there we go. Daughters of the Dragon. So yes, a great classic. A classic. Okay. Whew. It's starting to get warm in here. How's it going back in there behind the camera? Okay. Now this is Weird Science. This has great art from the likes of, let's have a quick, I think Wally Wood. I'm pretty sure Wally Wood is in here. Al Feldstein, Harvey Kurtzman, Wally Wood, of course, Jack Kamen, Al Feldstein, Jack Kamen, Harvey Kurtzman, Feldstein. So the buys. But the artwork was, they were great stories on them. I love the opening, this opening scene here. These were comics when comics were hidden in the back of people's closets to make sure their moms didn't find them and tear them up. Weird Signs. Great artwork throughout. Well, all the EC titles had great artwork. And this had, no, I thought this was the one with the classic. But anyway, great. Check it out. Okay. Now, to continue along. I gotta straighten up one more of the books here. Now we're down to our final two. How's it going back there, Luna? You enjoying it? Okay, anyway, this is Jeffrey Jones's Idol and I'm Age. So this was a series he ran in. It was in National Lampoon for many years, Idol, and the I'm Age he then did in heavy metal. But Idol was a beautiful pen and ink drawn series. I mean, look at these.
Careful, we might have to censor that.
But absolutely beautifully drawn. Of course, a lot of figures. Used a lot of figures in it. So Idol is one of the classic. Yeah, there's lots of nudity in it. And then he came back years later with I'm Age, which was sort of a similar, a real avant-garde type of strip. But beautiful, absolutely beautifully drawn. Of course, lots of nudity here, so too much nudity for the average person, probably. And last, but not least, here it goes. Oh, geez, these are getting heavier by the year. This last one, this is a Bronze Age Justice League of America omnibus. This was around when, as a kid, I started to collect Justice League, and as a matter of fact, there was one. I even marked one of the books here. This in particular, I can remember buying this comic for like 10 cents in the early 70s down at Afterwards, which was a bookstore downtown here in St. John's, and I love this story. It just seemed, to me too, it just seemed, for a DC comic, it just seemed really unusual and all kinds of cool stories. And this is where the Black Canary comes over to Earth from Earth 2, and she hooks up with Green Arrow, and they become the it couple for many years. Oh, excuse me. So yeah, Justice League, Bronze Age. Oh God, I think I've injured my arm or something like that. But definitely so worth reading. Dick Dillon is the main artist in this, and let's see who else. Dick Dillon. I think Dick Dillon does all the artwork in this. As a matter of fact, he does. I think there might be a Neil Adams. No. Oh yeah, there's a guest artist part where Neil Adams does some, but otherwise it's all Dick Dillon. Was the most underrated comic artist in DC comic book history. So that is all my my books. What's that? The merry-go-round?
Yeah.
Oh, grab me one off that there, sure.
Let's go over.
Oh, okay. We'll close off with me having a look over here. Oh, watch out for all those lights there. And on the spinner rack. Oh, let's have a look at this one. Dalgoda. This is one of my favorite 1980s comics. This is from Fantagraphics at the time, from Jan Strnad and Dennis Fujitaki. And I don't know, they only did a few issues of it and it appeared here and there, but I loved it. It was a great series. That's Dalgoda the dog there. So worth seeing. Anyway, I guess that's about it for, yeah, that'll be all from the good old spinner rack.